Hi everyone! Today we'll be talking about one of my favorite artists. As you may be able to tell by the shirt, we're talking Jimi Hendrix. Now I've had the pleasure of listening to his discography all week to come up with the cream of the crop. I'm calling this, undeniably, the top 10 best Jimi Hendrix songs. And just to stir things up a little bit, I'll have my pick for an overrated song at the end. But in the meantime, let's get to the top 10. At number 10, we have If 6 Was 9 from Axis Bold as Love. Nowadays, it's very common for artists to spend years between albums. But back in 1967, musicians were pushed to release 1 or 2 albums every year. So immediately after concluding sessions for Are You Experienced?, the Jimi Hendrix Experience continued to constantly schedule recording sessions. Axis Bold as Love would be captured in 3 months between May and July of '67. The label had set a holiday release date, so when Jimi lost the master tape for side 1 after leaving it in a London taxi, Hendrix, alongside producer Chas Chandler and engineer Eddie Kramer, had to pull an all-nighter to remix the album's A-side. They would say, for If 6 Was 9, that they could never reach the quality level of the original mix. If 6 Was 9 is delirious, acid-soaked blues, with 2 distinct segments originally recorded as 2 separate jams. In the beginning, its riff is pure Delta blues, before it morphs into psychedelic free jazz. So spaced out, it even included Jimi playing a trippy recorder solo, panning back and forth in the stereo spectrum. If 6 Was 9 would later be included on the Easy Rider soundtrack. Its vibe fits perfectly with Renegades with Wanderlust. It's one hell of a ride. At number 9, we have Machine Gun from Band of Gypsys. Jimi Hendrix's influence on music is staggering, from his guitar playing theatrics to incorporating new experimental effects to stretching the limits of rock music itself. It's rather insane that he did it all within a span of roughly 4 years. The final album released during his lifetime, Band of Gypsys, was far from his most commercial, but its genre-defying funk rock fusion would be incredibly influential. In 1969, Jimi had parted ways with his previous band, The Experience, as well as his manager, Chas Chandler. Due to legal disputes, he owed an album to Capitol Records and decided to record it live at the Fillmore East in New York City, with his latest group, dubbed Band of Gypsys, consisting of Billy Cox on bass and Buddy Miles on drums. Over 4 shows, they would record 24 different songs for a grand total of 47 recordings that would get whittled down to only 6 for the LP. Machine Gun is a 12-minute anti-war epic. Hendrix's visionary guitar work is a wonder to behold. He speaks through his 6-string with more wide-eyed clarity than he ever would with his voice. His solo is blistering and impressionistic, his virtuoso playing on another plane of existence, and it also features Miles pounding his drums like a weapon of war. By exploring the boundaries of his imagination, Jimi fused rock and roll, jazz, and soul into something new, raw, and vital. At number 8, we have Purple Haze from Are You Experienced? In 1966, Jimi Hendrix came to the attention of Chas Chandler, the former bass player of The Animals, who wanted to quit band life to produce and manage artists. After catching Hendrix live at Café Ua in Greenwich Village, New York City, he brought Jimi to London and signed him to a contract. Chandler was convinced the Billy Roberts tune, Hey Joe, would be a bona fide hit for the right artist. Once Hendrix's backup band was assembled, he would be proven right, as The Experience's version of the ditty would storm the charts and break the group in the UK. Jimi would later say that record isn't us, and was more excited for the group's new original material. Purple Haze would be their next single, and it is light years beyond Hey Joe. The dissonant intro 2-note waver starts the song eerily, like the Jaws theme, before Jimi lets loose with the iconic, driving, razor-sharp riff, so heavy it practically gave birth to metal. On the solo, Hendrix would pioneer the use of the Octavia guitar effects pedal, where an upper octave is added to the original guitar signal, giving the auditory illusion of multiple strings playing. This would give his solo an Eastern, almost sitar-like raga, pushing the demented, distorted rock into heady, psychedelic space. Purple Haze was the first Hendrix penned single and the first song to really let his freak flag fly. At number 7, we have Freedom from The Cry of Love. When Jimi Hendrix died in 1970, he had been obsessively recording at his newly finished recording complex, Electric Lady Studios. His perfectionist tendencies had pushed both producer Chas Chandler and former bassist Noel Redding to their breaking point. And with all the money wasted on marathon studio sessions, it made all the sense in the world for Hendrix to build a home base. He envisioned his 4th studio album as a double or even a triple LP. There were over 30 songs at various states of completion, with only a handful that were truly signed off on as final at the time of his passing. 3 different compilations would be released, attempting to assemble the mythical Lost Album: The Cry of Love, Voodoo Soup, and First Rays of the New Rising Sun. They all include Freedom, a funky, spirited soul workout he frequently played during his post-experience sets. Hendrix grooves on slick rhythm licks while wailing on lead. Bassist Billy Cox's flowing, bubbling bass lines anchor the rhythm, and Mitch Mitchell's drumming deftly moves from in-the-pocket grooves to jazzy, effortless fills. The trio would never get a proper studio album together, but check out their live set at the Atlanta Pop Festival. They are a force of nature. Freedom is an exhilarating shot of funk rock that showed Jimi Hendrix was only getting started. At number 6, we have Fire from Are You Experienced? Jimi Hendrix honed his chops by backing up great R&B musicians like Sam Cooke, Wilson Pickett, and Ike and Tina Turner in the early 60s. He would later be the lead guitarist for the Isley Brothers Band, and after tiring of their repetitive sets, he went on to play behind Little Richard for a short spell. Yearning for more freedom, he quit his sideman gigs to move to New York City and start his own group, Jimmy James and the Blue Flames. It was while playing with this group that Chas Chandler would see the guitar prodigy, and the wheels of the Jimi Hendrix Experience were set in motion. Chandler went on to hunt for members to augment Hendrix, and recruited Mitch Mitchell to man the drum kit, and Noel Redding, who would switch from guitar to bass in order to join. A journalist would later ask, is that full, big, swinging sound really being created by only 3 people? They definitely earned the moniker Power Trio. Jimi Hendrix is rightly praised as a guitar legend, but the duo were no slouches. Fire is tight, rhythmic combustion. Redding's thick, fuzzy bass follows Jimmy's walking guitar riff during the open verse. Then he adds vocals during the chorus, and his playing gets more frantic as he plays with a guitar pick like his former 6-string days. It's Mitchell, however, that's in pure beast mode, playing intricate polyrhythmic jazz drumming with the roaring intensity of the best rhythm and blues barn burners. Fire is a short, scorching jam that owes as much to its sidekicks as it does to its fearless leader. At number 5, we have Little Wing from Axis Bold as Love. Jimi Hendrix remains one of the most unique guitarists to ever pick up the instrument, and it's unlikely we'll ever hear someone quite like him. Hendrix was left-handed, and while there were left-handed guitars in the 60s, they were much less prevalent and hard to get hold of. Instead of learning to play with his right hand, Jimi turned the standard 6-string upside down, making the heaviest strings on the bottom of the neck. This singular quirk would cause Jimi to use inventive chord phrasing and influence his songwriting. Little Wing has roots in a song Hendrix played on for a group called the Icemen in 1966. This Northern Soul indebted track would be the blueprint for the loveliest ballad in his catalog. Hendrix called the song an impression of the Monterey Pop Festival, as if it were a free-spirited woman, ready to fly on. The recording uses a Leslie cabinet on the lead guitar to introduce a rotating vibrato effect, typically used for organs. This, along with a light, ringing glockenspiel following the unconventional chords, give the song a distant sepia tone feel. It became something of a blues rock standard, covered by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Derek and the Dominos, typically doubling its length to try and tap into Jimi's rarefied air. No one could ever play it better than Hendrix. At number 4, we have Foxy Lady from Are You Experienced? Once the Jimi Hendrix Experience was formed, it would take 5 months and 16 recording sessions at 3 different studios to complete their seismic debut, Are You Experienced? During the recording, Hendrix would have his amps cranked at full volume, causing fights with the producer and the neighbors of the studio. A bank that was above one of the sessions claimed it was so loud that it was messing with their Stone Age computers. That huge distorted sound would be the trademark of the experience. Foxy Lady begins with a slow finger vibrato, winding up the tension as the feedback bleeds out, and then slams into powerful dominant 7, sharp 9 chords. Often used in jazz, but rarely in rock and roll, and now sometimes referred to as the Hendrix chord. Its rhythm is a lustful strut. Jimi confidently coos, "You got to be all mine, oh foxy lady." The seduction is so literal that the solo is orgasmic, as if the narrator's desire is erupting. It's not even a surprise that, with the exception of a few overdubs, this was recorded in one session. Foxy Lady is all instinct and attitude. At number 3, we have All Along the Watchtower from Electric Ladyland. When it came to songwriting and lyrics, Jimi was a great admirer of Bob Dylan. The Experience kept Like a Rolling Stone in their live rotation. They would play a triumphant version at their iconic set at the Monterey Pop Festival, where he would famously end the set by not only smashing his guitar, but also setting it on fire. However, when the group tried to capture the song in the studio, that fire wasn't there. It might have been because Like a Rolling Stone was Dylan's electric moment, where he plugged in and turned up. It's hard to recapture lightning in a bottle. When Hendrix took another shot at a Dylan original, he practically reconstructed it in his own image. All Along the Watchtower is a titanic epic that sounds like being caught in the eye of a psychedelic storm. The tune was only released 6 months after the original, but it blew Dylan away. He would say Jimi found things in the song that no one else could see. The song has no chorus at all, yet was Hendrix's biggest US hit, all based on its steady apocalyptic drive. Jimi sings Dylan's colorfully cryptic folk proverbs with utter conviction, as if some doomsaying prophet. His guitar is a siren call, and during the bridge, it ping-pongs back and forth into a full-fledged freakout. His howling guitar is truly otherworldly. On All Along the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix took a slight, skeletal Dylan song and transformed it into his own stirring, vibrant masterpiece. At number 2, we have The Wind Cries Mary from the album Are You Experienced? To be completely accurate, The Wind Cries Mary only appears on the North American version of Are You Experienced? The UK version didn't have the trifecta of early singles from the group, Hey Joe, Purple Haze, and The Wind Cries Mary, and it also had a different album cover that Jimi despised. With its freshly commissioned psychedelic cover and those stellar singles included, I can't help but think that the North American release is superior. The Wind Cries Mary was the 3rd single released from the Experience, and the poetic ballad showed another side to the group. While the lyrics are definitely inspired by Dylan, it's Curtis Mayfield's influence that is heavily felt. During Jimi's sideman days, he got to see Curtis up close, and his understated but technical and melodic guitar phrasing color the wistful love song. The band had not even heard the song prior to the session and recorded it in one day. While it may lack the incendiary guitar pyrotechnics, it has some of Hendrix's best lyrics. A broom is dreamily sweeping up the broken pieces of yesterday's life. Written after a fight between Jimi and his partner over some lumpy mashed potatoes, It's an elegiac lamentation of a lover's quarrel. Its quiet brilliance showed Jimmy was more than an electric guitar slinger. At number 1, we have Voodoo Child, Slight Return, from Electric Ladyland. Never released as a single during his lifetime, Voodoo Child's Slight Return has the unmistakable wah-wah intro riff that defines Jimi Hendrix. It closes out his final studio album with a thundering bang. It's definitely rooted in Muddy Waters blues, but with Jimmy's marvelous, intuitive guitar lead that lift off into the stratosphere. The self-proclaimed Voodoo Child sings powerful visions. Well, I stand up next to a mountain, and I chop it down with the edge of my hand. His lyrics are brief, because his guitar is absolutely possessed. Distorted and crunchy, deftly moving from low to high notes in milliseconds. Jimmy is clearly expressing his soul through his instrument, creating whole worlds out of thin air, improvising with unrestrained conviction. As technical as polished guitar players can be, it's his personality and vision that shines the brightest and separates him from the countless imitators. He was undoubtedly one of the best there ever was. Incredibly technically gifted, yes, but also with a curiosity and passion that is unparalleled. Voodoo Child's Slight Return is a hard-rocking monster of a jam, and one of the best songs ever. And now, I'll add 2 more songs that almost made the list. The first is Stone Free. It was released as the B-side to the debut single, Hey Joe, and was the first original recorded by The Experience. Jimmy was ready to record another cover for the B-side, but their manager encouraged him to write an original for publishing royalties. Hendrix wrote it for the next day. It's a chugging rocker with propulsive drumming, underlining the carefree, nomadic ode. Tasked with composing a song on short notice, Jimmy wrote about his life and philosophy and made a kicking counterculture anthem. My other close pick is Crosstown Traffic from Electric Ladyland, and the second single off that album. It's a heady brew of acid rock, swinging from catchy, wordless melodies, do-do-do-do-do-do, duetting with ringing guitar licks to the left-handed heavy piano-pounding rhythm, with Noel Redding and Dave Mason's voices swirling around the mix, singing the title refrain. It's furious and funky, and deserves to be mentioned among his best. Finally, let's talk about what I consider to be the most overrated song from Jimi Hendrix, and that is Hey Joe. Yes, it's a bit of a cop-out considering it's a cover. However, almost 60 years after its release, it's somehow still among his most popular tunes. It's not a bad version, but he would write so many better songs after that debut single. Its 2 immediate follow-ups, Purple Haze and The Wind Cries Mary, are both superior. Unique compositions that showcase Jimmy's inventive ear and his imaginative, poetic pen. Hey Joe is a fairly standard blues dirge. Both its structure and lyrics are repetitive. The best touches added to the cover are the faint phantom backup vocals by the Breakaways, and of course, Jimmy's expressive guitar work. His genius simply transcends the song, which he basically did regardless of whether he was covering The Impressions or Francis Scott Key. Yeah, it was the world's introduction to the magic of Hendrix, but afterwards he would write much better numbers that deserve that radio love. To me, I can't help but feel that it's overrated. As you're still watching, I wanted to share a deep cut as well. For that, I'm shining a light on 51st Anniversary, the B-side of Purple Haze. It's a footloose, bluesy shuffle, with Jimmy sharing stories of married couples whose relationships went south to highlight his pursuit of an untethered free love lifestyle, ending emphatically with, "I ain't ready to get tied down," and "let me live a little longer." It's a great ramshackle rocker buried among his B-sides. If you aren't familiar, you should check it out. So there you have it. That was undeniably the top 10 best Jimi Hendrix songs. So, how wrong was I? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your top 3? Do you think Hey Joe is one of his best songs? Let me know. And if there's any artist you'd like to see me rank, let me know in the comments below. Hope you stick around, and thank you for watching. Remake. Okay. Far from his cafe what?
Cafe what?
What? For the Isley, I don't know what that was. Isley Brothers. To augment Hendrix, free spirit. Okay, I don't know what I said there, but it wasn't right.
Jimbo.
Jimbo. That'd be pretty good.
The J-Man.
As the B-side to the debate. What was that? Okay. Tasked with composing a song. It's a great ramshackle rockle. Rockle?
Rockle.
Rockle? What's a rockle?
I don't know. It's a ramshackle rockle, though. Whatever it is.
Sounds like a band. Jimmy's revelatory. Jimmy's revelatory. Jimmy's revelatory. Jimmy's
The grand total of 24 total.
I like the brand Total. It's being sponsored by Total.
Brought to you by Total.
It's all about subliminal advertising.
I just start saying cereal tastes delicious.
I'm just eating it in the middle of it. I'm
just
like, hold on.
Sliced in. Every once in a while, you get a little bowl of cereal.
Well, I hope that the rest is good. Okay.